Hello. In this video, we're going to look at how to convert SI or metric and imperial units of volume and capacity. So we're not working within metric only or within imperial only. We're going from one system to another system. Before you continue watching this video, I need you to pause and to grab your formula sheet for this course. We're going to use the first page of the formula sheet to complete the examples in this video, and there's about 6 examples. We're mainly going to be using the top part of the formula sheet that says unit conversions, that's on the first page, as well as the bottom part of the first page that says volume and capacity conversions. So please have that handy before you continue listening. All right, let's start with the first question. The question asks, how many cubic centimeters are there in 1 cubic inch? So essentially what we're trying to do is we're going from a cubic centimeter, we're going from 1 cubic inch, and we want to know what that equals in cubic centimeters. Okay, so this is the mystery number here. So what we're going to do is we're going to look for the conversion that compares inches and centimeters. So look at the top of your formula sheet, and I believe in the third column it should say 1 inch is approximately, those squiggly lines mean approximately 2.54 centimeters, and I'm going to write that down underneath my question, and I'm going to make sure that I line up my units. So 1 inch is approximately 2.54 centimeters, and this of course compares the length, not the volume or the capacity. So how do I get from 1 inch to 2.54? The numbers are getting bigger, so I multiply by 2.54. Now I do the same thing to the top. I also multiply by 2.54. However, this is a unit of volume, so I need to do that 3 times. So grab your calculator and go 1 times 2.54 times 2.54 times 2.54. And the answer should be 16.39. I'm going to round to 2 decimal places. So the conclusion is that there are 16.39 cubic centimeters in 1 cubic inch. This is the final answer. All right, let's move on to the next example. The next example asks us to convert 4 cubic yards to cubic meters. So I'm going to write that down first with my blank, and I'm going to go to the formula sheet as well, and I'm going to find a relationship between yards and meters. So it's also going to be found in the third column of the table at the very top, and it says 1 yard is approximately 0.9144 meters. So let's write that down. 1 yard is approximately, let's do that, there we go, approximately 0.9144 meters. And again, this compares the length, but we're interested in the volume. Okay, so how do I get from 1 to 0.9144? I multiply by 0.9144 and try it out. 1 times 0.9144 is equal to 0.9144. So here I will do the same thing, but I will do it 3 times because it's volume, and volume is 3-dimensional. Okay, so on your calculator, you're going to multiply 4 by all these numbers. So give me a second while I do that as well. And that should give us 3.058. So I'm going to take 2 decimal places. Keep in mind that your questions in your assignment will tell you what to round to. So here I'm just going to take 2 decimal places, and I'm going to go with 3.06 cubic meters. Okay, so I'm going to highlight that as our final answer. Okay, now let's jump to the next example. Eowyn is ordering topsoil for her garden. She calculated that she needs 15 cubic yards. When she phones in her order, how many cubic meters should she ask for? Round your answer to 1 decimal place. So basically she has 15 cubic yards and she wants to know what that equals in cubic meters. So very similar to example 2. So if you'd like, pause the video, try this by yourself, and then play to view the solution. All right, so The solution is as follows. I'm going to use the same conversion. 1 yard is equal to, nope, it's approximately 0.9144 meters. And again, this is for length, but this is for volume. So here we multiply by 0.9144. So here I will multiply by that number 4 times. Okay, and give me a moment while I multiply 15 by those numbers. And that gives me 11.46. But we need to round to 1 decimal place, so that will be, give me a moment, 11.5 cubic meters. And that is the answer. All right, let's move on to the next example. Example number 4 asks, how many liters of paint are there in 5 US gallons? Round your answer to 1 decimal place. So we want to know the amount of liters in 5 US gallons. So 5 US gallons equals blank liters. So you're not going to find the conversion for that in the top table because those conversions are all for length. So you're going to look at the third table on that page, and we're going to look for something that relates US gallons to liters. And that's on the column on the left. So the conversion is 1 liter is equal to 0.26 US gallons. Okay. So I'm going to line this up. I'm going to write this first. So 0.26 US gallons is equal to 1 liter. Okay. So how do I get from 0.26 to 1? I divide by 0.26. Okay, and try it out. 0.26 divided by 0.26 is equal to 1. Okay, now here I'm going to divide by 0.26. Okay, now remember, we only do this once. We don't do it 3 times. The reason for that is that this is a conversion for volume, and this is a conversion for volume. They're both for volume, so I don't need to do it 3 times or anything like that. So we'll just go 5 divided by 0.26, and that gives us 19, 19.2. And that's after we round. So the final answer is 19.2 liters. Okay? Okay. So now let's go over the 5th example. Bill bought 3 quarts of milk in Montana, US. The city here will become important in a minute. How many liters of milk did he buy? Round to 1 decimal place. So remember how when we talked about capacity and volume and such, and we said that there is a US imperial system and there's a British imperial system, and the US one is smaller, right? So here, because this is in the US, we're dealing with US quarts, not British quarts. Okay, so we have 3 US quarts. We want to know how many liters of milk that is. So these are obviously units of volume. So let's go down to that third table and let's find the relationship between US quarts and liters. And the relationship is as follows. It says that 1.06 US quarts is equal to 1 liter. Okay, so that's straight from the formula sheet, the column on the right. Okay, so how do I get from here to here? I divide by 1.06. Okay, so here I divide by 1.06 as well. And you only do it 1 time because they're both units of volume. So 3 divided 1.06, that is 2.8. And that is our final answer. Okay. All right, let's look at the next question. I believe this is the second last one. All right, so if gasoline sells for 0.936 per liter, how much is it per British Imperial gallon? Round your answer to the nearest cent. Now, if you look at your formula sheet, there is no comparison between liters and British gallons. I have a comparison for British gallon and US gallon, and I have one between liters and US gallons, but there isn't one for British gallon and liters. So here it is provided for you in the question, okay? If you notice that there's an issue and you can't find a conversion, always ask your teacher and we can help you find it or figure it out. Okay, so this one is a bit tricky because what we're looking for at the end is an amount of money, right? But we need to fix the units first. So let me just write down a summary of what we have first and then we can problem solve. So we pay $0.936 per 1 liter. Okay, what we want to know is the amount of money that we will pay per 1 British gallon. And the rate should be the same, right? So there should be an equal sign here. And instead of writing that question mark, I'm going to put the letter X. Okay, so now we have a proportion and we should technically cross multiply to get X. However, we have a problem. These two values are not in the same unit. Either both of them have to be in liters or both of them have to be in British gallons. In this case, they both have to be in British gallons because I want to know how much money to pay per British gallon, right? So this has to change to British gallons. So the conversion given to you says 1 British gallon is equal to 4.546 liters. Okay, so you have two choices. You can take that value and put it here because that's equivalent to 1 British gallon, or what I'm going to do, which is slightly harder, I'm going to change this to British gallon. So here's what I'm going to do. 1 British gallon is equal to 4.546 liters. I want to know how much it is per 1 liter. Okay, so to go from here to here, we divide by 4.546. So here I'm going to divide by 4.546. So let's do that. And I get 0.2199. So I'm going to round to 0.22 British gallons. So I know that 1 liter is equal to 0.22 British gallons. Okay, so I'm going to erase this and I'm going to put 0.22 British gallons. Okay, I will show you the other method afterwards as well. In case this one is confusing, just hang in there and I'll show you the other method. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to cross multiply. So these two multiply with each other and then these two multiply with each other. Remember, there's a review video on this, so if you need to watch that as a recap, you can. So 0.936 times 1 is 0.936 equals 0.22 times X. To get X alone, you divide by 0.22. So X is equal to 4.25. And what are the units? In this case, dollars. Okay, how do we know that it's dollars? Because we're looking for X and X is on the same row as the dollars. Okay, now the other method that you may have chosen to take is to just replace this by 4.546 because you know that this is equivalent to 1 British gallon. So let's do that and see what we get. We expect that we will get the same answer. So this is 1 liter. This is X over 4.546 liters. So now everything is in the same units. Cross multiply. So X times 1 is just X. And then 0.936 multiplied by 4.546 is equal to, shocker, $4.25. Same amount. Okay? So you can choose whichever method you like or you find a bit easier to understand. Okay, the final example that I have here, it asks how many cubic feet are there in a load of concrete that is 2 cubic meters, and then we have to round to 1 decimal place. So we have 2 cubic meters and we need to know what that equals in cubic feet. Okay, so for this one, we're going to use the top table, the one that says unit conversions. We're going to find the relationship between meters and feet. And that relationship is on the last column on the right. So it's 1 meter is approximately 3.2808 feet. So I'm going to write that down here. 1 meter is approximately 3.2808 feet. Okay, how do we get from here to here? We multiply by 3.2808. Please remember this is a length conversion and this is a volume conversion. They're not the same type. That means when I do my calculation for the 2, I have to multiply by 3.2808 3 times. And just give me a minute for me to input that into my calculator, and we will come up with the final answer. And that gives us 70. Hang on a second, please. There we go. That gives us 70.6 when we round it to the nearest whole number, 1 decimal part in, and I'm going to highlight that. So 2 cubic meters is approximately 70.6 cubic feet. And that concludes, that concludes the unit on imperial units of capacity and volume. Please do a few practice questions and then tackle your assignment. Let us know if you need any help.